Why, hello everyone! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. First things first, yes, I'm in my bedroom. Please ignore everything. Ignore all of it. I don't want to talk about it. Anyways, ignoring that. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Katie, if you did not know. I mean, now you do, but what are you doing? Like, you should know. Like, subscribe. Maybe you'll know. Or maybe you don't, and that's fine too. But anyways. So basically, you already saw the title of today's video, so you know exactly what we're doing. So let's just get right into it. Okay, you guys, can you believe that it's 2024? Like, really quickly, can we just take a moment? It's 2024. I feel like literally yesterday it was 2019. Do not mess with me. I was class of 2019. I graduated high school like 5 years ago now. I can't. But happy 2024. I hope you guys had a great holidays, a great new year. Also, peep the Alexa Ray merch. It's so cute. This is from her first ever launch. I literally bought like 4 things from her first launch, I think. Shout out to you, Alexa. So, like I already said, you saw the title, you know what we're doing, but I'm gonna explain it anyways. Today, we are going to be tier ranking every single book I read in 2023. Shout out to Sarah Caroli. I got this idea from her video last year, and then right as I started prepping for this video, she posted this year's. And I was like, slay. So yeah, we're gonna be tier ranking. I apologize in advance for how my tier ranking thing looks. I don't know how other YouTubers do it. I could not figure it out. And for some reason, my tier ranking thing had like little guns I can't get rid of. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. It was driving me bonkers. Let's just get right into the video, shall we? So as you guys can see here, I've got my tier maker, and these are my tiers. At the top, we have Would Sell My Soul to Reread for the first time. These are like 6-star reads, like reads that I was like jaw on the floor, can't even, like, these are books I can't stop thinking about. These are books that I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Or books that I was like, what the hell just happened? I can't stop thinking about this. Next, we have Literally So Amazing I Can't. These are books that, you know, were literally so amazing that I can't. Like, I don't really know how else to put it. Then we have actually pretty good, like, books that I would say maybe surprised me, or that I was like expecting not a lot from, but I actually kind of liked. We have mid, not gonna lie. These are books that are, well, mid, that I was like, I mean, it wasn't bad, but I don't know if I even reread it again, to be honest. Then I have meh. Speaks for itself. These books were meh. They were not that good. They were not something I would want to reread. They were like, well, they were meh. Last, of course, we have Waste of My Time and Brain Cells. These are books that I literally wish I could never have read in the first place, and that made me want to revolt and crawl out of my skin because they were so incredibly terrible. And I think we really only have one that belongs in that category, but I can't wait to talk about that one. So let's just get right into it. The first one we have is Vacation Wars by Megan Quinn. That one, I'm gonna be honest, it was kind of mid. Like, it was not really. Actually, we're not off to a great start. I almost want to put it in meh. Here's the thing. I don't know necessarily if I would say it was awful, but oh my god, the characters were so unlikable. Like, we have another Megan Quinn book in a little bit over here, and those characters were also kind of unlikable, but the thing was with those characters, I could get behind them because they felt real. In the Vacation Wars here, I couldn't do it. They were petty, they were vindictive, they were babies, they were awful to each other, and then they justified it by being like, oh, we're adults following a list we made when we were 16. Come on. It wasn't good. It wasn't great, and it put me in a slump. Literally took me forever to get into it, and I have this thing where I don't DNF books. It physically pains me. I think I've DNF'd one book ever because I always end up going back to them. I consider DNFing a book that I literally will never finish, ever. There's some books on here I probably should have DNF'd, but this one, I don't know. Honestly, I'm putting it in meh. Was not very good. I'm thinking about it now, didn't like it. Next, we have The Haunting by Natasha Preston. This is her newest release this year. I actually got to read a snippet of it early in her ARC Readers book club. I got to read like the first couple chapters. It was amazing. I'm gonna put it in pretty good, actually. Here's the thing. It wasn't awful, but it also wasn't groundbreaking. Natasha Preston's like reads are very much, they're always like a 4-star, 5-star, but in the sense of like they're not feel good. Let me correct that statement. They're not feel good, but they do what they're supposed to do. They make me happy and excited to read. They are very fast-paced, very easy to blow through. The endings are what get me every time, though, because every single one of these ends on a cliffhanger and literally never has any actual resolution. And she's very popular for that, which is great. Like, find something you're popular for. it does bother me a little bit. I like a little resolution with the end of my books, or if you're not going to do a resolution, make a second one, besties. Make a second one. But yeah, it was actually really good. All in all, it was actually pretty good. I wouldn't rate it incredibly high, but I wouldn't rate it anywhere lower either. Next we have, I don't even know, this is probably not in the right order, but next we have Sidetracked in the Mindfuck series. I read them separately on the Kindle. I didn't read the big thick book. I read them all like it's separate little books because they were like novellas. I'm gonna put them all in pretty good actually. And here's the thing, listen. I would say that for me, like I really enjoyed them. They were very good, but you can tell that they were kind of written by someone who wasn't super, I don't want to say not good at writing because it was good writing. It's just, it felt very Wattpad-y, however you say that. And I really almost wish that we would get more, but I do believe that the author has passed away, which is unfortunate and terrible for so many reasons. It was very good. The idea of the story was amazing. It's such a cool, unique idea. Lana Myers is literally that girl. It's just something about it. I think I rated the series as one full series, I would rate the series 4 stars. Individually, the books got either 3 or 4 stars. It's literally just because of like writing and pacing was a little off sometimes, and like it wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like the all in all, the storyline was amazing. I liked the characters and I had a fun time reading it. Next we have The Reunion by Megan Quinn. This is the other one that I was talking about. This one was about a bunch of like siblings getting together, reuniting at their parents' house for an anniversary. Come to find out the parents are selling the house. They're all having their own unique individual problems, and they all have love plots, like storylines in the book, which I found fascinating. They're all, except for like 1 or 2 of them, like I think Ford, the oldest brother, I believe he's my favorite. I love him. I feel like the characters are all unlikable in their own separate ways, but at the end of the day, it was for me, it's because they were human. Obviously, the book had its quirks. I don't know what I rated it. I want to say 3 stars or 4, probably 4 stars. So again, it's gonna go in pretty good actually. I mean, a lot of these are gonna be pretty good actually. I almost wish I had made like another tier in between mid and pretty good. Next we have The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. Again, it was pretty good. I read it for Tiffany's book club, and it wasn't bad in the sense of like, it just wasn't something that I think about constantly. It wasn't mind-numbingly good. It wasn't the best thing I've ever read. It was pretty good, and I enjoyed reading it in the moment. I would maybe read it again, but it's not something I'm gonna go and call my besties about and be like, girls, you gotta read this book. Now we have Haunting Adeline. Now here's the thing. This is a book where I wish I had made a different level, because at least this book, it was very Wattpad feeling, but I was hooked. It took me a minute to get into, but I was hooked. I read the trigger warning, so I knew what I was going into, which I normally don't do that. I like to go in blind. I knew what I was going into when I started it, but I still, some of the scenes, I couldn't get over the hypocrisy. I couldn't get over, I don't know. It was good and it was bad. So I'm putting it in mid. But here's the thing. This is why I wish there was a second section altogether. It's because for Haunting Adeline and all those books, I literally have not been able to stop thinking about these books since I read them. I read them in the summer. It is literally January. I remember pretty much the whole plot, which literally never happens except for my all-time favorite books. And the books are permanently engraved in my brain. I literally even did a presentation for my English class on these books. Here's the thing. I didn't like them, but I didn't hate them. Like, I was like, okay, they're not bad. Like, there's some scenes I'm like, slay, Zayd, slay. I don't know what I was expecting. It just wasn't what I got, I guess. And so yeah, I'm gonna put it in mid. That's not technically where I would want it to go in my heart. I would want a separate section that was like, not bad, but I can't stop thinking about it. But the thing is, if I made that section, it would only be that book that went in there. That book and the second one. Which brings me to Haunting Adeline. I'm actually putting that one in pretty good. And here's the thing. Obviously look up trigger warnings before this one, especially because this one is extremely dark. But I liked the plotline better. I feel like when I was reading the second one, the author's writing had improved. It felt less like Wattpad and it felt more like deep and dark and real. You can tell that there maybe was some growth there or something. I liked getting both of their sides in the book while the dark things were happening. And I liked the growth we saw from the characters. I liked how real the emotions were. In the first one, I just felt like we didn't get a lot of like really intense real emotions. We got like, he's a stalker and he's in love with her, you know? And she's like, oh my God, stop. But like, continue. And at least in this one, for the most part, we got a lot of girl boss moments. We got a lot of him actually being like a decent person kind of thing. And I feel like in the first one, the things he would do with Adeline versus for his job were contradictory, in my opinion. But I liked the second one more. Okay, this next one. I want to preface this by saying I listened to it on audiobook. However, I would sell my soul to read this for the first time again. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Can we just talk about the fact that it took me so long to consume this book? And now that I have, I love it. It is so good. Plot twist, insane. Like at the end, I was like, whoa, what? And like, I feel like they almost hinted at it a couple times. I really want to go back and reread this maybe this year. It was so good, you guys. It was just, mwah, so good. And I really, on one hand, I want them to make a show, and on the other hand, I'm like, please don't touch this. Don't touch it. And honestly, I would recommend listening to it on audiobook. For some reason, it just hit so good on audiobook. All of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books on audiobook were actually really good. I don't know what she's got going on with her audiobook situation. Girly, keep going. Keep doing it. It's good. Okay, next we have, I think, the only Colleen Hoover book I read this entire year, and it's making me never want to read a Colleen Hoover book again, and that is Finding Cinderella. It's like a novella in between two books, I can't remember which. That was a waste of my time, my energy, my brain cells, and 150 pages. What was the point? It was so bad, and I literally looked at some reviews, and like Sarah Crowley had rated it like 4 or 5 stars, and I was like, girly pop, what do you mean? I feel like for maybe, I have to go see when it was written. Maybe for the time it was written, people were like, oh my God, haha. I just felt like the main male character was a piece of shit. He was garbage. He was an awful human being. He was so bad. And then the girl just felt very like, I don't want to say pick me because maybe that's not the right word, but she just felt like a lot. Like they both just felt like a lot. And yeah, she had some like trauma she had gone through. Totally understand how that can change a person, but I did not like his character in the slightest. Was he supposed to be likable? I don't know, because I fucking hated him. He was misogynistic, he was sexist, he was rude. I couldn't get behind his character, which means I couldn't get behind the plot and the love interests. I couldn't do it. So next we have Satan's Affair, also by H.G. Carlton. It is part of the Haunting and Hunting Adeline series. It's like a prequel of Sibby's story, and it was mid. It was mid. Maybe I would almost dare to even say meh. I'm gonna stick with mid. Here's my reasoning, okay? This book, the whole time we know Sibby in the Haunting and Hunting series, she felt very childish to me, like almost like a little kid. And so when we get this book and she's doing her things with her henchmen, who are obviously fake, but still, it really kind of just irks me. The storyline we get is pretty interesting, but it's those scenes that I'm like, maybe not. Maybe we shouldn't. Like, maybe let's not. You know what I mean? I like Sibby's character. I think she's funny. I didn't like reading those scenes because they felt very off-putting to me, because in my mind, Sibby was almost just like Harley Quinn-esque, but childish. Like, Harley Quinn's still an adult, like, and she's still kind of, like, she doesn't act like an adult, but she doesn't act like a kid. I feel like Sibby, even her language was very kiddish, and obviously that's because of her trauma, but I couldn't get behind it. I'm sorry, I couldn't get behind it, so it's gonna stay mid. Next, we have Darling Venom. Literally so amazing, so good. The beginning had me a little, it was very long, first of all, for like a romance book. It was pretty long, and it is a little odd that it was dead boyfriend's older brother. I mean, they never technically dated and they like kissed, but he was like in love with her, and then she like goes with his brother. I don't know. That part bothered me for like a second, but them together were honestly so funny. They had terrible communication, but it was really good, and it didn't, I read it all in a day. Like, literally, I stayed up until like 4 in the morning reading this book. Like, I don't think I put it down once I started reading it, and I don't know, I just like really liked this book. It had me laughing, it had me crying, it had me kicking my feet and giggling. And I think that's kind of what you need for like a 4 to 5 star book. Like, I think I rated this 4.5 to 5 stars because it was really good. So I liked it. Obviously, there's trigger warnings. Look them up, of course. But all in all, I really enjoyed this book. It was really good, actually. So next we had a book that kind of surprised me. I'm not normally a fan of surprise pregnancy tropes. It's not my vibe. I feel like it almost pushes the idea that like when you get pregnant, you have to fall in love with that person. But I read this book called Baby Moon or Bust. Don't remember who it's by, but I do recall kind of liking it. I'm gonna put it in mid. It wasn't, this is again where I wish I had another like ranking area. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like the best book I've ever read. It was mid. It was okay. It was pretty good. Like, I don't know if I'd necessarily want to read it again. And I also just hated the name of the male main character, Solomon. I couldn't get past that. Who names their kid Solomon? But he's from Alaska, and I'm from Alaska, and I didn't even realize that, I think, when I picked up the book. The mom is very girl boss slay queen, very scared to be open. Her communication skills were terrible, as were his, but they were very cute. It was very interesting to see her morph into his area. She definitely, I do think that bothered me a little, that she kind of like, he was very adamant, I'm not leaving Alaska. I'm not leaving Alaska. I'm gonna stay here. I'm living here. This is my home. And she was kind of more in the sense of like, I like it, but do I want to live here my whole life? I almost feel like the book, in a way, kind of morphed her into what he wanted, but like maybe she was like that all along. I don't know. But all in all, I'd say it wasn't that bad. It was pretty good, but I don't know if I'd give it anything higher than mid. This one is gonna be controversial, and I will be rereading this book in paperback form this year, just to see if that changes it any. We have Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm so sorry. There's gonna be a full reading vlog soon about this book. First of all, I listened to it on audiobook, which is maybe why I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to. Listen, I just can't, I can't. And here's the thing, the story itself is good, great, whatever. The characters are very real, unlikable in a sense, but real. It took me so long to get into, and normally, like I said, I loved The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The audiobook was good, it's just there's so many characters that I had a hard time keeping track. So I feel like maybe if I read the book in paper form, I'd be able to keep track better. This book it was okay. It wasn't, for me, something I would want to call home about. Maybe it wasn't what I was expecting. I'm not really sure, to be honest. It's just there's something in my heart told me I couldn't give it higher than like a 4-star. And I actually think I ended up giving it like a 3.5. I'm so sorry. Daisy Jones and the Six Stands, please don't come for me. I'm sorry. I'm going to reread it. I promise. I'm going to give it another go. I just couldn't. I'm sorry. Next we have One Italian Summer, also mid. Actually, I'm putting it in meh. Here's the thing. I listened to the audiobook, and before anyone's like, audiobooks aren't real books, shut up. Yes, they are. But I loved the audiobook only because it was narrated by Lauren Graham, my queen, my icon, my legend, my moment. The Lauren Graham. Love her. Lorelai Gilmore, queen. That is the only reason why I kept listening to this book. I felt like the main character, it was very odd. It was like almost like a time travel that we don't even really learn how it happened. And my thing is there was like a cheating trope in this where she kind of like cheats on her husband, and I don't know. I know that they were in the process of like maybe breaking up, but for me that didn't justify the cheating. I don't know. This is probably a spoiler too, to be honest, but I don't know. I will never read this book again. I won't recommend this book. I just didn't like it. Next we have Killjoy by the queen, the icon, the legend, Holly Jackson. This is a Good Girls Guide to Murder prequel about Pip going to a murder mystery party and kind of discovering, maybe I want to do this for my capstone project. I actually really liked it. I wasn't expecting, because you know, it's a novella, it's a prequel, it's like how Pip was like, maybe I want to start investigating this. It was good. I actually liked it. And I totally agree with Pip when she was like, it has to be this person, and everyone's like, but the card says this, and she's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. I just felt like you really get a better sense and a better look into Pip's like identity and her personality, because in the first book she gives very much serious version of Spencer Reid, which I'm here for, but I feel like in this book you get a little bit more personality showing through, which is why it's going in actually pretty good, because I think I rated it fairly high, and for a novella it was impressive. So next we have The Girl in the Headlines. I picked this up at Barnes & Noble kind of on a whim because my original go-to genre was kind of YA mystery thriller kind of situation, and that fell in the category, and I was like, oh, it sounds interesting, like this girl's parents were murdered and now they're investigating her. Meh. It put me in a really awful reading slump. First of all, I read this and I literally didn't pick anything up for like a month afterwards because it was just so I read it all fairly quickly, but the storyline was meh, and then the main character, the male main character that was like the love interest, she literally says in the beginning that she doesn't find him attractive. She's like, you're not that cute, like whatever, you know, like I don't like him. But then he helps, but then he does, I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I honestly will maybe even get rid of this book completely. Like some of these books I'm willing to keep the hard copy of for whatever reason. I couldn't get behind this book. Meh. Next we have The Reunion. Mid. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. It was about these two characters that played love interests, I think, on a show in I want to say the 90s, the 80s, the 90s. And they had this really bad thing happen, and then now they're on the show together and they're maybe getting back together, question mark. The idea was like kind of there, but I just couldn't get behind. Not that I couldn't get behind the characters, like they were cute together. It's just I feel like it was a whole lot of like the whole thing is based on a stupid miscommunication. I just didn't, and you know what, it's not very memorable for me. I don't really remember a lot of this book. Next we have Running Into You. This was an ARC that I actually received, my first ever ARC, so thank you to the author. That was so nice of you. And I'm gonna say I was surprised at how much I liked it. I'm not just saying this to be nice because I was gifted a free book. I did get it on ebook, but still. It was actually pretty impressive. I don't know if this was the author's first book. Obviously, being a new author, it's gonna take you a while to get into a good writing style. That's why I'm very nervous to write a book and try to publish it, because I'll be like, if it's a storyline I really enjoy, but the writing's not great, it's gonna make me feel eh. The writing was a little, sometimes like it didn't feel very Wattpad-y. However, two main characters are so cute together. I think it's childhood friends to lovers, if I'm remembering correctly. I have it in pretty good actually, because I'm just thoroughly impressed with how much I did like this book as I was reading it. I want to say I rated it like a 3.5 to 4 stars. It wasn't mind-blowing by any means, but I think I was just so impressed with the fact that this newer author had put together something like this, and I was like, I kind of gotta put it there. I don't know, why not, right? So thank you to the author for sending me that ARC. I will have the link to her Instagram down below, just so you can check her out and see if any of her books are your vibe. But I don't know, I liked it for what it was. So next we have Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. Literally would sell my soul to read this for the first time. It took me a minute to get into, but after I got into it, did I get into it? I read this. This is a huge book, by the way. It's not small. This is not a small book. This is a hefty boy and floppy. Hefty, big, chunky boy. I want to say it was like 500 pages? 500 plus pages, almost 600 pages. I read it all in one night, but I sat there and I read it nonstop. The plot twists were kind of crazy at the end. I don't know if I was a huge fan of those necessarily, but I got the 5-star feel when I read this book, and I couldn't shake it. I can't shake it. And I still think about this book a lot, actually. So yeah, Say You Swear, 5 stars, 10 stars, amazing stars. I love it. It was so good. So next we have Janine Farras. I think this is called like the other half of the grave. I can't remember. She has a series called the Night Huntress series. So good. Love it. Mwah. She actually originally wrote it in the early 2000s. So if you read the original from the girl's perspective, from Kat's perspective, it's got like pagers and stuff like that. It's actually kind of funny. This version is in Bones' point of view, which is the male main character, the male love interest, and he's a vampire, and it's not like Twilight vampires, okay? They don't glow, they don't sparkle, okay? I love it. I love this series. Maybe it's nostalgia, I don't know. I first read the series when I was in high school. She just started publishing the books from Bones' point of view. If you love Buffy the Vampire Slayer and you love Spike, this character is basically Spike with a different name. Like literally basically Spike. And I don't want to spoil it because I honestly would love for you guys to read this series. It is literally like, think of a tree. The main series is Cat and Bones, and then there's like little side series, and then you always come back to Cat and Bones. Like, it's so good. I can't get over it. So good. Next we have Fool Me Twice. Waste of my time. Waste of my time, waste of my brain cells, waste of my energy. I did not like it. It was literally like only 200 pages, 300 pages maybe. It was a tiny book. It sucked. It took me forever to get through. It was hard to read. The male main character was so unlikable. It was insane. The female main character was all like annoying and like getting revenge on this guy because of her friend who died, which is, I guess, understandable and could have been, this plotline could have been good. It was written so poorly. And the author, she made the man was very sexist. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So yeah, anyways. All right, next we have Man Crush Monday. Also a waste of my time. This is actually the only book I have actually 100% DNF'd. I DNF'd it about 50%. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I even spoiled the ending for myself just because I was like, is this gonna be worth it to continue reading? It wasn't. I did not like the female main character. They were trying to make her very quirky, I feel like, and for me, it didn't hit the way I think that the author wanted it to, and maybe that was just because it was me. I don't know. And also, the plot twist was just, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I DNF'd it. I do consider it as read, but like I technically DNF'd it. Next we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I want to reread this for the first time, maybe in a more proper setting, because I was trying not to cry into club in the parking lot of my work multiple times, especially chapter, I want to say 37. That chapter hurts my soul, okay? I love it. It was so good. And honestly, with the show coming out soon, maybe I'll reread. Who knows? Maybe this will be the year of rereads. I would very much enjoy that. It was so good and I loved it and I think about it constantly. Like I said, Pip very much gives Spencer Reed, like, that's a little more serious and a female and in high school. And she's a badass. She kicks ass, she takes names, and she doesn't give a flying fadoodle, and I love her. Next we have another book I would sell my soul to reread for the first time, Archer's Voice. Don't even try to ask why. You know why. I constantly talk about this book. I love this book. Archer Hale is, oh my god, I love him. And it was such a good book. It had me laughing, it had me crying, it had me giggling. I do want to say that a lot of people, I've read some of the 1-star reviews, and you know what? I get it. I understand. I just don't agree. You know what I mean? Like, I like your opinion. I value your opinion. For me, though, this book just hit in the best way possible, and I loved it. Next, we have the Pretty Little Liars book. Again, wish there was maybe a second one in between mid and pretty good, because it wasn't bad, but obviously I grew up on the show, so reading the book was kind of like a culture shock for me in a sense of like, that's why I don't like watching the shows before I read the book or watching the movie before I read the book, because then it taints the idea of the book. And the book and the show were so incredibly different, and in the book they were so much younger. I think that's one thing the show did that was actually really good, is they aged up the characters and it made more sense. It felt more okay, I guess. I don't know. The book was okay. I probably won't read the other ones. Maybe I will, maybe not. I don't know. Next we have Valentine's Hate. I'm gonna be honest. You know what? I'm gonna put it in meh, but I feel like it's somewhere between meh and mid. It was okay. I'm gonna be honest. I remember almost nothing about this book. Literally almost nothing about this book. I couldn't even tell you the main characters' names. It is escaped my brain. It was a fast read. It was cutesy, I guess. I wasn't a huge fan of the characters, but you know, it is what it is. This book did not stick in my brain enough for me to be wanting to give it anything higher. You know, it's not bad. It wasn't. The fact that I don't remember the characters' names, I feel like is an answer enough of like how I felt about it. Next we have On the Subject of Unmentionable Things. Literally so amazing. This was actually the first book I read in 2023. I read it literally on New Year's Day and it was so good. And if you're looking for a book that touches on topics of like consent, sexual health, that kind of thing, it's set in a small kind of like, I don't want to get political, but a small kind of right-wing town, and just the way that the author handled the subjects, and I'm pretty sure she got like medical professionals to consult on some of the questions that are asked in the book. I was very, very thoroughly impressed with this book for the first read of the year. I really enjoyed it, and it was a very good book. And I recommend you read it, especially if you have questions about sexual education that are going to be answered properly. It was really good. Next, we have Only Murder. Meh. Beginning of 2023, I spent a lot of time doing Uber Eats to make some extra cash, which meant a lot of audiobooks, and a lot of the audiobooks were just kind of the free ones you could get on Spotify, because I wasn't big on audiobooks. I have this in meh. I remember all of these audiobooks giving them at least 2, 3 stars. I could not tell you what this one's about. Out of all of these, I only remember the plot line to one of them. The rest of them, they're all series. They all look like they're by the same author too. They're not. All different authors. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember what this book is about. It's a mystery thriller murder story. That's all I know. Same with the other one that's not me. Again, do not remember what this is about. I don't remember a single thing about this book. I couldn't tell you a character's name. I couldn't tell you what happened. I honestly feel ill-equipped to even rate it in this tier ranking system, but I'm going to, because if it was good enough that it captured my attention while doing Uber Eats in Alaska in January at like 8 o'clock at night, then it'll go higher. But I don't remember anything about this book, so there's that. Next, we have Annabelle Lee by Edgar Allan Poe, the Matthew Gray Gubler little mini audiobook version. It was like a 15-minute listen. I'm putting it in actually pretty good, because here's the thing. I love Edgar Allan Poe. I think the stories are so interesting, and hearing it through Matthew Gray Gubler's voice, so good. Obviously, it's not like an actual book. It's like a little mini, I don't even want to say novella, but the fact that they had it on Goodreads answers my question. So next we have Girl Alone. Again, it's going in meh, because it's one of those books I listened to while I did Uber Eats. I'm not going to even waste that much time explaining, because I don't remember anything about it at all. Next we have Girl One Murder. I'm putting this in mid. Here's the thing, I actually remember what this is about, and I actually was thinking about going back into this series. It's supposed to be, I think it's going to be like a 12-book series or something. It's about this FBI agent and her, I think it's her sister, gets taken. And this guy is, maybe I'm mixing some plot lines. I'm thinking this is the one where the guy takes her sister and has like 12 other girls, or 11 other girls, and he kills them by recreating the murders of famous serial killers. It wasn't bad. I definitely would say that I'd have to reread it, and I'd have to reread it physically for me to give it anything higher than a mid. But I think considering I remembered any of the plot, it's going higher than the other 3, okay? And considering it got me that hooked while I was listening to Uber Eats, I'm gonna call it a win. Next we have 1,000 Boy Kisses. Literally so amazing. I would not want to reread it for the first time again, and here's why. I read it all in one night, barring like the first couple chapters, but like from like chapter 4 to the end, I read it all in one night. I was sobbing like a baby at like 6 in the morning, having not gotten to sleep at all, snot rolling down my face. I couldn't breathe. I was choking on my tears because of how sad it was. And this is a freaking YA book. YA, young adult. What are we doing? That was insanity. And oh, I just love them both so much. I did not like, I don't remember the male's main character's name. I can't remember it because it was something, he was like Nordic? Icelandic? I think he's from Iceland? I think he's from the Netherlands. I don't remember. He wasn't American, but when he moves and then he comes back and she's like, she had stopped talking to him. I didn't like how he acted for part of it. Like, ask her, maybe? I don't know. Like, yeah, she wasn't very open to communicating, but you guys had been like childhood lovers your whole life. Like, come on. And then the ending I was kind of disappointed by. Like the epilogue, I guess. But I guess it also kind of made sense. I don't know. But the book itself had me crying, sobbing, kicking my feet, giggling, being like, oh, I can't believe, like, you know, once you find out what's going on, that the book is not going to end happy. But still, it was so good. But I don't think I could stomach rereading this for the first time again because it wrecked me. For a YA book, I was like, what the freak? And I'm so excited for the second one to come out in summertime because I cannot wait to read it. I am very, very nervous, but there's no way I'm not gonna read the second book. Next we have The Holiday Hookup. Oh, such a waste of my time. This I got during a Stuff Your Kindle day. I didn't realize, first of all, I didn't realize it was a novella. And then I didn't realize it was the first novella in a series similar to the Mindfuck series, where it was like, this all should have been one book, but it was all independently published separately before it was like actually published. It was terrible. At first, I loved the main female character. I was like, girl boss slay queen. She punches her ex in the face and gets saved by this cutie like bad boy guy, and it turns out they're working together, and I was like, this is gonna be great. And then it got so bad so quickly, and I'm not trying to be mean, I didn't like it, like, and it ended on like a really weird note because, again, didn't realize it was supposed to be a series. That was my own fault. I think it literally said on the cover, it said like book 1, but like it ended in like, I can't. It wasn't good. And that's all I'm gonna say about it, because I don't want to waste any more time or energy on a book that wasn't good. Next we have The Night Shift by, I believe her name's Annie Crown. I don't want to be like one of those hipster people that was like, I read this before it went popular on Book Talk, but this has started going pretty popular on Book Talk, and it started being sold in stores, and I want to argue, I didn't get the ARC. I don't think it was an ARC, but I read it on Kindle Unlimited before it started going kind of viral on Book Talk. I want to say I rated it 3 stars. It's going in pretty mid. Again, wish I had a third category between mid and actually pretty good. It wasn't bad. The main male character was very cute. I loved him. He was very, like, his character was very surprising in the sense that, like, he was a good guy. He wasn't, like, one of those assholes. And I liked the female main character to a degree. Like, there was miscommunication because of her, which, yes, the situation looked bad. Got it, good. But on the other hand, I didn't like her because she felt very, again, kind of pick me. Very much like, I read, I'm a book girl. She was just very, like, cringy, I guess. I think that's the only word I can put it. I did like in the end when they're trying to resolve the conflict, she's the one to resolve it. I thought that was very nice, but the conflict didn't need to happen. It was good. It was not something I'm phoning home about. Next we have Talk Santa to Me. Mid. Okay, listen. First of all, the female main character's name is Frankincense. Frankincense. What? Somebody explain that to me. They call her Frankie, but they name her Frankincense. It sucks so bad. This is about Frankincense, Frankie, who works at a Christmas store. Her family owns like this Christmas village. If you know me IRL, you know that I also worked at a Christmas store and it didn't go very well. Anyways, and basically the whole time I was reading this book, I was like, is this like low-key about me? Like, every time I was reading the book, something, I was like, this is familiar, this is familiar, this is familiar. And, I mean, not that the characters were unlikable, they were all pretty decent, except for Aunt Carol, but like, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I don't want to put it in meh, because I did enjoy some parts, and the main male character was very cute, he was very funny, I did like his character, he was very understanding and helpful, and I did like them together, so I don't think it belongs in meh, but it definitely doesn't go any higher than mid, in my opinion. So next we have Same Time Next Year by Tessa Bailey. This is actually the first Tessa Bailey book I ever read, and it is a novella. It was actually surprisingly pretty good. There was minimal to no miscommunication trope, which I loved. The main female character, I don't remember her name, obviously, I'm me, hello. She was a little unlikable at times just because she was so bad at communicating, and I was like, girly pop, use your words, use your words. The main male character was so cute. He was just like, oh, and he was very much like he fell first kind of situation. He was in love with this girl this whole time. They marry for a green card, and of course it ends happily ever after, and I love it. This whole time I'm like, girl, get over yourself. Love him back. Like she obviously did, but like I think it was I was very surprised at how much I did enjoy this book, and even though it was really short, you did get a lot in that short amount of time. So I liked that. Next we have I Told You This Already by Lauren Graham. It was pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. This is her second like story of personal essays, and I loved it so much. I listened to it on audiobook. I just love hearing her voice, to be honest. Next we have Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. If you watch my booktubers video, you know that Love in Other Words, Archer's Voice, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and Say You Swear were all books that were recommended to me personally by booktubers. So Sarah Caroli actually recommended me Love in Other Words. So good. I'm gonna be honest, it got a 4.5, and there's a couple reasons that if you just go watch that video, I'll explain it. But long story short, I wasn't a huge fan of the plot twist, and everything just felt like a huge miscommunication, and I was not a fan of that. But it was so good, and I loved it, and I still think on it fondly, and I just love the cover. I can't get over the cover, it's cute. Anyways, so for my second Christina Lauren book ever, I have In a Holidays, that I kept getting confused with 11 Other Words, like a bajillion times. It happened like 3 times, I swear to God. In a Holidays was so good. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. It's a time loop, and I was like, they don't really explain how the time loop comes along. It's like magical realism. I really wish we did get explained more on the time loop. And I wish the ending had like maybe a playback of the original way they left. But it was so good. I was thoroughly impressed. I didn't think I was gonna like it as much as I did. The 2 main characters were very cute together, and obviously you know who's gonna end up with who. But I was really impressed. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't expecting it to like it as much as I did. So next we have A Lighthouse Christmas by Jenny Hale. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm putting this in mid, but again, this is where I wish there was somewhere between mid and pretty good, because this wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was pretty good. I actually annotated it for a video. It was pretty good. It was about this girl, Mia. Her grandmother dies. She goes home to help sell the lighthouse and take care of her family, and she's going through her own personal things. She meets Will. He's the real estate agent. Yada yada yada. Obviously, emotions ensue. I loved them together. They were so cute. They were so mature. I feel like they were very communicative about what they wanted, who they were, and who they were ready for. It was like almost a palate cleanser, I would say. I don't think that this is anything show-stopping, groundbreaking, but it was really good. And you know what? I'm a liar. I'm gonna put it in actually pretty good. I'm gonna put it there. Next we have Divine Rivals, my first ever fantasy book. I mean, I guess you could argue that my vampire books are fantasy books. I would argue maybe not. Just, they're like different. They're like paranormal. Paranormal is different than fantasy, in my opinion. So Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross is my first ever legitimate fantasy book. What? So cool. I loved it, actually. And the 2 main characters were so cute, and I love them, and I can't wait to get the second one. And I feel like maybe this year will be my fantasy era. Who knows? Who knows? But it was actually really good, considering I never really read fantasy, like legitimate fantasy. I was impressed. I did really like it. Next we have Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. This was her first memoir autobiography kind of situation. Listen to her narrate it on audiobook. So good. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You've got to be kidding me, right? You're kidding me. This was phenomenal. I loved it. I wouldn't sell my soul to reread it, because I knew a lot of it already, but it was like, I think where it got me was listening to her on audiobook talking about it, because especially when she hit the topic of Edward Herman. Oh my God. Pulling my heartstrings, besties. I couldn't handle it. I was tearing up, I was laughing, I was like giggling, I was like, aw, and like, it was just so good, and I could listen to her talk for hours. I literally do, because I watch Gilmore Girls literally all the time, but I loved this, and it was so good. Next we have The Magic Misfits by Neil Patrick Harris. I'm putting it in Matt. Here's the thing, it's a fucking kid's book. It's a children's book, and I read it to my kids, but it is a kid's chapter book. So I argue maybe that, like, that's why I can count it. Next we have Little Women. Listen. Before you come for me, I was an idiot and I grabbed the wrong version of Little Women. This is the unabridged, I think the shortened version for like kids. I did not realize that when I bought it or when I started reading it. So it put me in a slump, because I was like, this isn't, like, people rave about this. What am I doing wrong? I grabbed the wrong version, okay? That's why it's in Meh, because this is the wrong version. This is like the little kid, the pre-tween kind of version. This is not the legitimate version, and that is all on my fault, all me. Like, I will reread Little Women in the OG version this year, I promise. So I will be rereading this. I will even make a video if you want, but that's on me. So please don't come for me. Please don't come for me. It was just me being stupid, basically. So last but certainly not least, we have Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Literally so good. I was actually not expecting to like it as much as I did. Like, it was amazing. And I listened to it on audiobook. Again, another Taylor Jenkins Reid book on audiobook. Slays. I loved it. And I don't give a flying fadoodle about anything tennis. But I was impressed on how much I liked it and how much I wanted to keep listening. And yeah, ignore the stuff at the bottom. I can't figure out how to get rid of those guns. But yeah, this is all the 50 books I read in 2023 and the tier rankings. And would sell my soul to reread for the first time. We have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Say You Swear, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Archer's Voice, and literally so amazing I can't. We have Darling Venom. Can't remember the name of this book. The Janine Frost book. I can't remember. There's so many different names that are like very similar. On the subject of unmentionable things, A Thousand Boy Kisses, Love and Other Words, In a Holidays, Divine Rivals, Talking as Fast as I Can, and Carrie Soto is Back. And actually pretty good, we have The Haunting, the entire Mindfuck series, The Reunion, The Summer of Broken Rules, Hunting Adeline, Killjoy, Running Into You, Annabelle Lee, Same Time Next Year, Have I Told You This Already, and A Lighthouse Christmas. In mid, we have Haunting Adeline, Satan's Affair, Baby Moon or Bust, Daisy Jones and the Six, don't come for me, Daisy Jones and the Six, The Reunion, Pretty Little Liars, Girl One Murder, Night Shift, I believe is what it's called. I honestly can't remember already. And Talk Santa to Me. In Meh, we have Vacation Wars, One Italian Summer, The Girl in the Headlines, Valentine's Hate, Only Murder, Not Me, Girl Alone, Magic Misfits, and again, Don't Come For Me, Little Women, the unabridged child's version. And in Waste of My Time and Brain Cells, we have Finding Cinderella, Fool Me Twice, Man Crush Monday, and The Holiday Hookup. And that is our tier ranking list of the books I read in 2023. So that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed getting my opinions on these books, seeing what I ranked them, and maybe even getting some book recs. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy 2024. Thank you so much for all you did for me in 2023. In the span of like 2 months alone, I gained like 200 subscribers, which is insane. I had one video do very, very well, 2 videos do pretty well, some videos not so much, but it's fine. And I've got people commenting on my things, following me on Instagram, following me on TikTok, and it's just so great. And I love it. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, it's all down below. You can find it there. And I just want to say thank you, like, so much. This means the world, and I cannot wait to see what we do in 2024. I'm hoping we hit 1,000 subscribers in 2024. That would be amazing. And I've got some very fun videos planned, and I can't wait to see just what we do and how we live our lives in 2024. So thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much. Like, comment, subscribe, do the usual YouTube things. Go find my other social media. There are videos on there and pictures on there you'll never see anywhere else. And I'd love for you to check them out because it's fun and I love them. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy 2024, and I love you. Bye, everybody.